Let's just set the scene for a second. Picture a tiny ramen shop in Osaka with a 2-hour wait every single day. Rain, shine, it absolutely doesn't matter. The chef gets there at 5 a.m. without fail. He tastes his broth every 30 minutes. And here's the kicker. He's been making the exact same bowl of ramen for 30 years.
So one day, a food critic comes in and asks him what seems like a totally logical question, right? He asks, why do you keep changing the recipe if it's already perfect? And the chef just looks at him, totally confused. He says, perfect? I have never made a perfect bowl. Every day I get a little bit closer, but I will never stop adjusting. Now, that specific feeling, that absolute refusal to accept anything less than your absolute best, that's exactly what we're exploring in today's explainer.
Section 1. The Uncompromising Standard.
Okay, let's dive into this. This quietly powerful force is honestly the invisible engine behind almost every truly great thing ever made. The Japanese have a specific word for it, Kodawari. Now, historically, this word actually meant to be particular about something to an excessive degree. It was almost kind of a negative word, implying someone was just being stubborn or overly rigid. But today, Kodawari has evolved into meaning an uncompromising commitment to your own personal standard of quality. It's that standard you hold yourself to when literally nobody's watching, when no external rule is forcing your hand, and when, frankly, cutting corners would just be so much easier.
Let me give you a quick example of what this looks like in the real world. Think about a sushi chef who has Kodawari. He's going to insist on sourcing his fish from one highly specific market, even when there's a perfectly fine, much cheaper option right across town. And it's really crucial to understand here that this isn't perfectionism in the anxious Western sense. It's not driven by a fear of failure, and it is definitely not about seeking external approval. Kodawari comes entirely from within.
And this brilliantly illustrates another great example, the carpenter. Picture a carpenter in a quiet workshop, carefully sanding the back of a drawer with these incredibly deliberate strokes. Now that drawer back, it is never going to be seen by anyone once the piece of furniture is actually assembled. But he works on it as though it's going to be the central, most visible part of the entire piece. It's this beautiful dedication to the unseen detail. Honestly, we see this in pretty much every discipline. It's the writer who rewrites a single sentence 20 times simply because, well, the first 19 versions were only almost right. It's driven by this quiet, persistent internal voice that just says, you know what? I know this can be better, and I simply cannot move on until it is.
Section 2. Work as self-expression.
To really truly grasp this concept, we have to look at how Japan views the fundamental relationship between a person and their work. Because in a lot of cultures, work is highly transactional, right? You produce a thing, someone pays you for the thing, and the exchange is done. The only real standard is, did it meet the basic requirement? But in Japan, and particularly when you look at their craft and food culture, work is an expression of self. That bowl of ramen isn't just a product being sold, it's a literal statement about who the chef is, what they deeply believe, and what they value. And this right here is exactly why Kodawari cannot be faked. A chef doesn't suddenly raise their standard just because some famous food critic walks through the door. The standard isn't for the critic, it's for themselves.
And, we see this exact philosophy echoed by masters all across the globe. Take Steve Jobs, for instance. He was deeply influenced by Japanese culture and Zen philosophy. And he described something incredibly close to Kodawari when he was talking about his dad. His dad was building a fence and absolutely insisted on painting the back of it just as carefully as the front, even though nobody would ever see it. When Jobs asked him why he'd do that, his dad gave this legendary answer. He just said, "A craftsman knows." That knowing, that private internal measure, that is Kodawari to a T. It's the actual relentless pursuit of quality, not just the illusion of it.
I do want to quickly situate this concept within our broader Japanese concept series. So in our first explainer, we explored shokunin, which is essentially the lifelong devotion to mastering your craft. It's how you work. But Kodawari is how you decide. It is the internal compass that makes shokunin possible in the first place. Think of it this way. Shokunin is what you do, but Kodawari is the standard you absolutely refuse to fall below while you're doing it.
Section 3. The Cost of Good Enough.
Now let's get real for a second. Right now, we are kind of living through this modern epidemic of ambient dissatisfaction. And a huge reason for that is because our culture has systematically devalued this very concept. Just think about the incentives we are constantly surrounded by today. Ship fast, launch now, iterate later, done is better than perfect, good enough is good enough. And hey, In a tech startup testing out some new software, sure, that totally makes sense. But the problem is, this mindset has leaked into absolutely everything we do. We're now applying good enough to things that deeply, fundamentally deserve Kodawari, like our relationships, our physical health, our life's work. And the result? It just leaves us feeling incredibly hollow.
That specific hollow feeling is the exact absence of Kodawari. And naturally, the Japanese actually have a word for this devastating opposite too. It's called tikato. It means rough, approximate, careless. In Japan, being called tikato is absolutely not a compliment. It basically means you just didn't care enough to try. It's that quiet, sinking feeling in your gut when you look at something you've made and you compromised. You took the easy way out.
Section 4. Finding your Kodawari.
So, what does this all mean for us? How do we actually fix this? Well, it's time to shift away from the philosophy and get a bit actionable. I want to challenge you right now to look inward and ask yourself a really direct question. What is the one thing in your life where you refuse to accept anything less than your absolute best? Now, a really important caveat here. This is not meant to be applied to every single mundane task in your daily life. Please, I am begging you, do not have a full-blown Kodawari-level existential crisis over folding your laundry or doing the dishes.
Think back to our master ramen chef. He applies his Kodawari to the broth. He completely obsesses over it. But his office filing system? Yeah, that's probably just an afterthought. True Japanese craftspeople apply their highest standard only to the domains that genuinely matter to them. They don't burn themselves out wasting it on the things that don't.
So here are the steps you can actually take today. Step 1. Identify your domain. Ask yourself, what is the thing that when you do it carelessly leaves you with that awful, hollow, techie-toe feeling? Find that thing. Then, step 2, protect it from convenience. And I have to warn you right now, holding a standard of Kodawari is always inconvenient. It takes way longer, it takes significantly more effort, it means completely redoing things that were honestly almost right, and it means saying no to cheap shortcuts that nobody else would even notice. But in return, it rewards you with work that actually feels like you. It builds a quiet, rock-solid reputation that simply cannot be faked.
Section 5. Holding the standard.
Japan didn't just magically become known for world-class quality by accident. That happened because millions of individuals quietly decided to carry this private, unmanageable internal standard. It's not something that can be artificially incentivized, and you definitely can't just install it during a corporate team-building meeting. It has to come from within. If you want to dive a bit deeper into how this works on a practical level, you should definitely check out our Patreon explainer essay. In it, we really break down the psychology behind internal standards, the actual economics of building a true quality culture, and how to rigorously protect your own standard. It explains exactly why the creators and the businesses who hold this line consistently outlast everyone else. You can find that link down below. But for now, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought. Whatever your craft is, whatever domain you have chosen to pour your soul into, hold the standard, even when nobody is watching, especially then.